guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this week's video. If you're new here, I'm Lisa and I'm a freelancer living in Cornwall. And if you're not new here, then welcome back. In this week's video, we're going to be heading off on a little solo 2-day work trip up to Wiltshire. I'll be bringing you guys along with me and showing you a little more behind the scenes of what it's like to be a freelance social media manager and content creator, and sharing what it's really like to be self-employed. As always, thank you for clicking on the video. I really hope you enjoy this week's vlog, and if you do enjoy this week's vlog, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It's currently 8 AM on Monday morning, and I have actually been up for 2 hours already. I got up at 6 this morning because, as I mentioned, we are heading off on a 2-day trip to Wiltshire for a content shoot for one of my clients. So I wanted to get up bright and early and make sure that I got a lot of the tasks that I would normally do on a Monday done and dusted before I head off to Wiltshire. I'll be leaving Cornwall at 1 PM and the drive is about a 4-hour drive, so it should get me there for around 5 PM, and I can check into my little B&B that I've booked and have the evening there to relax and get ready for the shoot on Tuesday. I'm definitely going to fill you guys in on all of the details of the content shoot, who the client is, what we're trying to achieve, but this girl needs a tea, so let's go make a cup of tea. I also need to finish packing. I am definitely someone who leaves packing to the last minute, but I will always die on this hill that I think is actually the smart decision to leave packing to the last minute, because when you're packing too far in advance, then you end up needing the stuff that you've packed anyway, so why not just do it the day before you go or the day of the trip? So I've still got a little bit to pack, but I'm gonna make a tea, I'm gonna pack the rest of my case, I'm gonna finish my tasks, and then we can hit the road and I can tell you guys all about what we're up to on this content shoot. Pretty much all packed and ready to go, guys. Gonna leave in the next 10, just putting my car snacks in my bag. Got this mango, which I didn't eat the other day, so that needs to be eaten up. And I bought some grapes. Don't know quite what I was thinking there, thinking I was gonna be like a healthy girl, grabbing my grapes as I drive. Like, that's not very fun. So then we have hobnobs. Again, don't know what I was thinking there. That's not the easiest thing to eat in a car. I've got a banana, then I've got some fudge, which is probably the best of a bad bunch because that's bite-sized, easy to eat in the car, had it left over. So that's my car snacks, guys. We've got a 4-hour drive. My plan is to not stop. I'm gonna try and just drive straight there, check in, and then we can have a proper catch up, a bit of a debrief of what the hell I'm going up there for. And yeah, just have a bit of a chit chat. So yeah, I will catch you guys when I'm up in Wiltshire. Hey guys, I've arrived at my B&B here in Wiltshire and I've just checked in. It's really, really cute. It's like this little farmhouse and they've got stables and a tractor and 2 really cute horses that I'm literally looking at right now, and I'll insert a clip here so you can see. It's giving 4 in a bed. A nice B&B host came and welcomed me and she gave me this little slip of paper where I had to fill out the time that I wanted to have breakfast and what I wanted for breakfast. So I've gone for the Wiltshire full English because I feel like I'm going to need that to set me up for the day for my shoot. I'll also explain what the content shoot is about now because I have a bit more time to tell you guys. It's basically a group of nurseries. Nurseries as in children, not plants. And they have hired me to do 2 days of content shooting with them to basically capture content for their recruitment purposes. So things like team Q&As and fun little like behind the scenes stuff, day in the life content, trending stuff like funny little TikToks and things like that, to basically encourage people to have a career in being a nursery practitioner. So that's what I'm here to do. I got the job through a recommendation of someone that I used to work with, and they do have nurseries dotted across the southwest, and there are ones that are slightly closer to Cornwall than here. However, they've had a big refurbishment of the nursery that they have here, and it's kind of like their flagship one, so they felt that it would be good if I came up here and shot here, which I wasn't mad about, because it's quite nice actually to get out of county, and it's quite nice to just experience new things. Like, I've got this fun little cute farmyard B&B situation going on, and it's just a bit of a refreshing change from my normal like day-to-day, week-to-week. I did just have a minute there where I put my bags down and I thought, I'm overwhelmed, like I'm so stressed, because I do have a tiny bit of work to do this evening. I just feel like it's typical, isn't it, that when you have to be away from your desk for a couple of days, those are the days where everyone seems to like want something from you, and I'm just like, oh god, okay, I will reply to everyone this evening, but right now if I don't eat something, I'm going to be no good to anyone. So I've hopped in my car, and what I'm going to do is drive 10 minutes down the road to the nearest like town, because I'm kind of in the middle of nowhere here. They have a tiny little village, and it does have a pub, which I was really hopeful that I could walk down and go to the pub, but they're shut on Mondays, which is so annoying. So I'm going to drive to the town, which is actually the place that I'm going to be driving to tomorrow as well for my shoot. So it's kind of nice that I can see how long it takes, but the map says it only takes about 10 minutes. And then I'm just in two minds really between grabbing something from a supermarket, which is really boring, I know, but I just have so much work to do, and like going back to my room and just having like a little meal deal, and I've got like some nice teas and stuff. They've got like a little tea tray in my room, so I can make a nice cup of tea and just like relax, like get my work done, and just like get an early night and feel refreshed, ready for the shoot tomorrow. Or I could grab some dinner out at a restaurant, but I'm leaning more towards the boring option, which is grabbing something from a supermarket, just because, as I said, I'm feeling like a tiny bit overwhelmed. I feel like I've been sat in this car for too long. It took me 4 hours. It was a fine drive, you know, weather was fine and everything, not too much traffic, but I just, I'm feeling really tired and feeling a bit stressed, and I feel like the best thing I can do is just grab something and come back here and just like settle in for the evening. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. And then tomorrow, funnily enough, my brother and his partner live in Wiltshire, and they actually live 20 minutes away from where I'm shooting and literally 10 minutes away from this B&B. So I am gonna go over to theirs for dinner tomorrow night, and that will be really nice to see them. I also get to see their new puppy, which is a Dalmatian. He's so cute, he's called Frodo, and they've also got 2 cats. So I am very much looking forward to having some quality time with my brother, of course, but also I'm kind of excited just to see the puppy and the pets, and just have a nice catch up, have a home cooked meal as well. He's going to be cooking me dinner, which is lovely. So it's nice that I've been able to kind of like kill 2 birds with one stone. Yes, I'm up here for work, but also I get to see family as well. Good morning guys, it's shoot day. I'm trying to be a bit quiet because it's fairly early at 7 in the morning, and I have just gotten ready. I'm showered, ready for the shoot. Breakfast is being served at 7:30, so I am gonna have to eat that really quick. I'm gonna have to wolf that down because I've got to leave here at 8 to drive over to the nursery and start the shoot at 8:30. But I thought I'd show you guys what I've kind of prepped in ahead of the shoot, because I know some of you might be interested in kind of what it actually looks like when you go on a content shoot as a freelance content creator. So I thought I'd show you. As I said, this client came from a referral, so basically someone that I'd worked with before had recommended me for the job. Then we set up a discovery call, we spoke about what they might need, I gave my recommendations, then I went back to them with a price, and they decided to book me for 3 days. So we're doing 2 here, and then I will be doing a 3rd day, probably somewhere closer to home. They have nurseries up in Devon, so likelihood is we'll be doing another day, potentially next month, at one of the closer to home nurseries to me. Then once the contracts are signed and everything's kind of wrapped up on that side and we are happy that we're working together, I will start to go into planning mode. So I jumped on a call with the nursery and spoke to them about more of the logistical side of things, which nursery they wanted to film at, what kind of videos they would like. I came with ideas to that and put forward my recommendations, and they were pretty much happy with everything that I recommended, which was great. They also had a few ideas just from videos they'd seen of competitors, so they shared that with me, and that helped with putting together the shot list, which is the next step. So I will show you my shot list template now. So I've taken out all of the details for this shoot just in case like the client doesn't want me to share, but this is the empty template so you can see, and I'll just talk you guys through it now. On each column I've got the time, the task or the video that we're going to be shooting in that time. Then I've written for myself the shots required, and then I've got a column for people, so that's for the client to fill out if they wanted to. So if they think like, oh okay, that certain member of staff is going to be great for that video, they can assign them and then they can kind of know what they're doing on the day. And then I've got a column for props and equipment, which again is for me just to make sure. So I feel like it's easier to write this down and then I can actually see what I need to pack, because sometimes you don't need to pack every single piece of content equipment that you need. I probably do err on the side of, especially if I've got my car, just packing it all, because you can just leave some stuff in the car and then at least you've got it. But if you're traveling, say if I was traveling up to London and I was getting the train, or I'm flying somewhere, then I probably would be a bit more strict about what I actually am going to use realistically. So that really helps me. And then we've got a column for the video inspiration. So if there's any videos that I've seen on TikTok or Instagram that look similar to the vibe that I want to create, then I've popped that in there too, so we can all watch it beforehand and be like, this is kind of the vibe we're going for. You know, we can put our own stamp on it, but helps me as well with the filming and also the editing. And then finally, the last column is called edit notes. And that is basically for me again, just to make sure that if we are doing any filming and anything comes up, either from filming where we decide, oh, could you cut that line out, they're not supposed to say that, or that's confidential information, I can jot it in there so I can remember when I'm editing to be cutting those things out, because sometimes when I've got lots of different clients and lots of different shoots, those are the small details you can just forget, so it's just easier to write it down, alongside some like stylistic notes as well from me. Like for example, on quite a few of these I've written cut to B-roll throughout. So if they're talking to camera pieces like I'm talking to you now, cut to B-roll basically means if I'm talking and then I cut to, say I'm talking about this room that I'm staying in, and then now I cut to some footage of the room, but I'm still talking, that's cutting to B-roll. I can also write in the edits column if there's any strict deadlines. I tend to have a 2-week turnaround point for a shoot of this size. However, if there's a video that's trending or there's a video that they really would like sooner than that, then I will always try my best to get that done for them, and within a realistic time frame. I can jot that into the edit notes as well and say like client would like this by Friday, for example. So I kind of know that that's the priority one to edit. That's pretty much most of the prep, to be honest. Then there's the packing of all of your content kit, of course. And then just figuring out like the location. I like to scope out the location, check for parking, you know, just kind of logistical stuff like that you do for any kind of job or meeting. I don't think that's very specific to content creation. Given that the client today is a nursery and there will be children around, I will not be able to vlog when I'm at the shoot, but I will fill you guys in on how it goes and keep you updated. And we'll catch up later this evening when I'm heading over to my brother's as well. But yeah, sorry about that. I do love to bring you guys along on shoots, but sometimes it's just not really appropriate. And I think this is one of those times where I probably shouldn't be filming anything that I'm doing in a nursery for YouTube. So yeah, I won't be filming any footage at the shoot, but I will catch up with you guys when I'm out and when we're heading over to my brother's for dinner. Hopefully I'll be able to share some of the footage once it's all edited and the client has posted it over on my socials as well. So if you guys follow me over there, you'll be able to see the result of what we've worked on today. I'm going to head down to breakfast now because it's nearly 7:30 and my throat is very croaky and I feel like I'm in desperate need of a tea to get me going for the day. quick check-in. I have finished day 1 of the shoot. It went really, really well. I just got back to the B&B about half an hour ago and had a quick change of clothes, uploaded some of the footage that we shot today onto my laptop to start organising the clips and to put all of my devices, microphones, ring light on charge so that we go again tomorrow with fully charged batteries. It was such a good shoot. The people were so lovely and they were really up for a lot of fun with the content, so that's always really helpful when you've got team members that actually want to be in videos, because otherwise it's quite a hard sell to be like, let's be in this fun TikTok, and people are really resistant. But it was such a good group of people, so I'm looking forward to tomorrow. We got loads ticked off the list. We've also got lots to get on with tomorrow, so it's still going to be another busy day, but overall a good success. It's 5:30 now, so I'm heading over to see my brother and his partner and the puppy and the 2 cats, so that's going to be really nice this evening, and I'm just looking forward to switching off a little bit. It's been a really, really busy 48 hours and I do feel a bit frazzled, but I just know that spending some time with my brother is going to cheer me up massively, and I'm really looking forward to it. So I will catch you guys probably tomorrow morning when we can have a bit of a debrief. Good morning guys, it is 6:30 in the morning on Wednesday and I'm just getting ready for day 2 of the shoot. I had to check out this B&B this morning, so I'm getting ready, then I'm going to put my bags in the car, check out, and then have my breakfast at 7:30, and then on the road for 8 to get to the shoot for 8:30. We should be shooting till about 5, and then I am going to jump in my car and immediately drive back to Cornwall. So it's going to be a really long day. I don't anticipate I'm going to get home until about 9 p.m, but I'd kind of rather do it that way than stay another night and then have to use a working day tomorrow to travel back. I just feel like that's more disruptive. So I feel like I've got it in me to do the drive straight after the shoot. I had the loveliest evening with my brother and his partner. They cooked me dinner. I got to see the pets. I got to see the 2 cats and the dog. The puppy has grown so much. He used to be like maybe this big and now he's like the size of a horse. I am being dramatic, he's not the size of a horse, but I didn't really grow up with dogs in my childhood, so I'm not really used to being around big dogs, because we do have a family dog now, Flint, our little miniature schnauzer, which if you guys have been watching the channel, you will probably have seen him appear in a few of my videos, but he is A, very small, and B, my parents got him when I was at university. So yeah, I wouldn't say I'm like the biggest dog person, but caveat, I love dogs, like I really, really do, I promise. I love all animals. Like, I think I like animals more than I like people, but I think I probably lean more towards being a cat person. However, the Dalmatian Frodo, he's just so gorgeous, he's so sweet, and he's got the softest fur. I just, yeah, loved having little cuddles with him and seeing those guys, so that was really, really nice. And then I got back here probably about 9 p.m, filled my car up with petrol to do myself a solid for today, was glad about that. And yeah, just kind of crashed really, went straight to bed. I do feel really good for it. I feel quite awake this morning, much more awake than I did yesterday morning. I'm ready to go again for day 2 of the shoot. Today we're doing very much of the same as yesterday, in that we're filming more Q&As of the team members, so getting info on what their job entails, as well as the fun TikTok stuff. And I'm really pleased actually with how much we ticked off the list yesterday, so it should be good. I have newfound respect for people that work in nurseries or early years childcare. Like, I don't know how they do it, honestly. I couldn't do that job, I just could not. I don't think I have the patience. And it's just full on. It's a very full on environment, but also imagine if you like really love kids, it's so rewarding. I just don't know if I could do it. But everyone that I met was so lovely, and I'm really looking forward to going back again today. I am just going to finish putting on my makeup, and then I'm going to pack up my bags, pop them in the car, and then have breakfast at 7:30. I've gone for the pancakes this morning. Also, guys, the rain is back, which is a bit sad. It's really horrible weather today. There we go, guys. Ready for the day. Checked out. I will leave the link for the place that I stayed in my description below in case anyone is interested, if you need to stay anywhere in Wiltshire. I don't even know if I mentioned where the shoot actually is located, but it's in a place called Devizes, which is a small town in Wiltshire. So that's where the shoot is and where I've been working, and this B&B is literally 10 minutes from that town. But it's quite nice to stay outside of the town because it's quite busy. So it's kind of nice to come back to like a bit of a peaceful bolt hole. Yeah, it was a good stay. I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend it to anyone who wants to stay in this neck of the woods. So I will link it below. As you can see, I'm back home now. I got home last night, probably about 7:30 p.m, which, to be fair, I didn't think I was going to be home that early. I thought it was going to be a lot later than that. The shoot wrapped a little early, so I managed to get on the road and yeah, back home by 7:30 p.m. But when I tell you I was so tired when I got home, I did manage to unpack my suitcase because that's my number one rule. No matter where I go, no matter how long I'm away for, and no matter what time I get home, I have to unpack my suitcase. I cannot go to sleep with a suitcase that's not unpacked from a holiday. It just stresses me out so much. So I got that unpacked and I put on a load of laundry, checked my emails, and then I pretty much just completely crashed out for the night. Went to sleep at about 9:30. I was absolutely exhausted after doing an all-day shoot, especially at an environment that's quite full on, like a nursery, where there's a lot going on. There's a lot of children around, there was a lot of people, and then having to do a 4-hour drive all the way back to Cornwall, just kind of, yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted, or not for me anyway. So yeah, I definitely crashed out last night and got a good night's sleep. And then today I have just been catching up on work that I missed while I was off. So I kind of shared what I do to prepare for a content shoot as a freelancer, and now I thought I would kind of touch upon what I do after a shoot. So once it's wrapped, kind of what is my process for editing and what are my turnaround times, that kind of things, in case it's of any interest to any of you guys. So what I tend to do the day after a shoot is block out an hour just to upload all of the footage that I've taken on my phone, or if I've taken it on this camera here that I'm vlogging on, to just upload it to my laptop, so I know that I've got peace of mind that it's backed up in 2 places, but also to kind of organise all the files while it's still fresh in my memory, which has been a game changer, because at the beginning I definitely didn't do this, and I got to a point where I was looking for files, looking for video clips, and looking through my camera roll. And because I am a content creator, I'm constantly creating content on a daily basis, so my camera roll fills up really quick. So it's kind of annoying when you have to be scrolling back through all the different videos, shoots that you've done, or photos that you've taken, trying to find like a specific clip. So what I do is I will sit down the day after the shoot and I will make folders on my computer, on my laptop, and basically file everything into the video it's going to go in. Now, sometimes this isn't always possible if you don't have kind of the preset videos and you were just there to kind of capture, for an example, an event, and you're going to work out how you're going to use that footage later down the line. But for this particular shoot, we did have a very strict shot list, and we know which videos that the client wants. So I can then go in and be like, okay, I've made a folder for Q&As, for example, and then a subfolder for each person that we interviewed with their name and their job title. So then I can just whack the footage in completely raw, unedited. I'm not doing anything with the footage at the moment, but I'm just getting it uploaded and organised so that I can help myself out later down the line when I decide, okay, the deadline for this video is today, I'm going to go in and edit it now, and I've got all the raw footage for that specific video in one place. It sounds so simple, but trust me, I didn't do it before, and it really has come around to like bite me on the butt before, and I would just recommend for anyone doing content to get into the habit of doing this, even if it was a small shoot. So if, for example, it was the scenario I mentioned earlier where you don't quite know what you're doing with the footage yet, then what I will try and do is categorize it. So for example, if I've been to shoot at one of my restaurant clients, I might have the food folder, I might have the drinks folder, and then I might have like a folder named interiors or exteriors, which is more about the place, the setting, just to categorize it. So again, you're making it easier. So it's not just like content shoot March 24th and you click in and you've got literally every single clip that you've taken all mixed up. That would just be a bit time consuming for you to find the files that you need when you need them. I will also use the day after the shoot to make sure I touch base with the client again. Now, this might seem like overkill to some people, but I think it's really good for relationship building to kind of say, you know, thank you for such a fun shoot, I really enjoyed it. This also gives you a chance to potentially send an invoice, follow up on some payment stuff, and you can also ask for any additional information that you might need to help you with the edit. So for example, we did a lot of Q&As on this shoot because the purpose of this is to help the nursery with their recruitment. recruitment and to help them recruit for specific roles. And whilst I may remember all of the names of the people we ask the questions to, I might just want to double check with the client that I've got their exact job titles correct. It's also a good chance to ask for anything you need in terms of branding. So I'll be asking the client to send over their fonts and the colour palette that they like to use. So in case I need to use that for my videos, I may not, but if I need any text on screen and they would like it branded, then I've kind of got ahead of the curve there and got ahead of the game and asked them for that stuff. So when I sit down to actually edit, I've got everything I need. I don't need to be like, oh no, I've forgotten to ask them about this question, or like I don't know the name of this person, or I don't have the right fonts here. And then that just kind of like stalls the process. I like to have everything kind of set out, laid out, ready to go. So I will ask them for any information. It's also a great time to touch base and say, you know, I had a great time, and if you would like to book me again, here's my availability. Or if you've discussed anything on the shoot and you kind of got a feeler for the fact that they might have a project coming up, you know, to mention, oh, it was great to chat about that too. And just to like reiterate that I'd be keen to get involved with that project. So it's just nice to touch base, I think, from like a relationship building perspective as a freelancer. And then it's just down to the editing, which is one of my favorite parts of the job. I absolutely love an edit day. I love just sitting down with my laptop, getting fully immersed, looking through the footage that I've already shot and making it into an amazing video. So in terms of a turnaround time, it really does vary project to project. For example, if I've got a client that's a social media management client as well as a content creation client, so by that I mean that I am actually running their socials too, and the shoot that we've just done, it's my responsibility to not only edit the content but also post it for them and write the captions and run their socials, then there's slightly less pressure because you know that you are going to have that video ready for the day that it's needed to be posted on social media, and you might have a content calendar, but at that shoot you may have shot all of the content for that whole month. So I kind of know, because I am in charge of the posting, that I might edit the first half of the month the first week, and then a few weeks later I might edit the second half of the week. Sometimes it works out that way, sometimes you'll do it in batches. Sometimes I'll be keeping it really flexible because they might not have a menu that's live yet, but they want to have shot the content, but we don't know the exact specifics yet, so I don't know what I can include, so it'd be a bit more of a last minute edit. But that is where you have a bit more flexibility. For this particular client that I've just shot with, they are a content creation client, so that means that they are paying me to go and shoot, edit the content, and then send it all over to them. They can have a few amends, say if they want something tweaked or they want wording changed or a different song. They will send back their feedback, I will make small amends, but then I will send them the final files, and then it's kind of like, thank you so much, goodbye. Hopefully not goodbye, because you kind of hope that the client will be so happy they'll want to keep working with you in the future, and that is kind of the hope for this client. They did mention that they might be interested in working together again if they're happy with the videos, so that's always an amazing opportunity. But essentially this job is done. It's like a one and done, you know, you've filmed, you edit, you send the deliverables, and then they pay the invoice, and that's kind of like the cycle of the job done. So for that, you kind of want to have a set turnaround time. You want to basically set their expectations, so you don't know what their expectations might be. They might think that you could edit 2 days worth of content in like over the weekend. They might think they're getting their videos on Monday. They don't worry. But you just don't know what people's expectations are unless you lay them out. So I would say if you're doing any content shooting in that kind of style, then I would recommend that you are very clear and say, you will get your first draft by this date, and that is the maximum amount of time it will take you. Then it's kind of like over-promising no, it's not over-promising, under-delivering. It's under-promising, over-delivering. So I know that I probably would be able to get these videos turned around a little quicker than the time frame that I've told my client. But I don't want to tell them that, because I then want to make sure that I am under-promising and over-delivering. There we go. I don't know why I can't think of that in my mind as like the right way around, but yeah, you want to basically make sure that their expectations are set, and it should be realistic. You know, you don't want to be kind of taking that to the extreme and saying, well, you might get your videos in like 3 months and then you deliver them like next week, because you're going to annoy them by making them think they're going to have to wait that long. But you know, if you can try and deliver things a little quicker, especially in the beginning when you're working with a new client, I think that's always nice. I also give my clients the option to tell me if they need 1 or 2 videos urgently, so I'm more than happy, for example, if they did need this, if they wanted one of those videos that we shot by Monday, that would be realistic, and I would make sure I would move a few things around, and I would say, yeah, do you know what, you can have that video by then, but the rest will come a little later. That's kind of everything on the post content shoot that I can think of. Yeah, then the client will have all of the content and they can do with it as they please. So for this particular scenario, obviously we shot 2 days worth of content, which will probably equate to like a couple of months worth of videos, depending on how frequently the client posts. I mean, if they're posting every day on TikTok, they'll burn through that quite quick. But if they're posting once or twice a week, then that is going to last them a couple of months. So it kind of depends, again, scenario to scenario, it's very different. You might have worked on a shoot where actually you were just working on one hero video, and again, that's going to have different time frames. But for short form content, typically in a day, I will shoot enough for a month's worth of content for someone, and then they can use that as they please, and I don't really get involved in anything further than that in this scenario. As I said, if they're a social media management client, then I'm a little more involved. So I am actually scheduling the content for the person as well, and making sure it all goes out on time, and writing the captions, managing the channels and the strategy. But that's a little more involved than what this project was. And then the only other thing that I thought I'd touch upon is actually how this kind of job impacts my business day to day, because as you guys will have seen, I set off from here at 1 p.m. on Monday. So I did a half day on Monday, and then I was completely out of office from Tuesday and Wednesday, and I'm only like back to my desk today on Thursday. So it is disruptive, and I think again everyone's business will be different, but I do think that this is kind of a universal issue, whether you're in-house or freelance. I remember when I worked in-house, I still had this issue because I would have my day-to-day desk stuff to do, you know, at my laptop, all of the marketing activities that typically you do in the office when you're sat at your laptop, answering emails, doing meetings, editing content, writing blog posts, that kind of stuff. But I would also have days out of the office, even if it was like the team party, like the Christmas party where it was like in the day on a working day, or whether it was doing some training or going out to shoot content for someone and being away from the desk and putting your out of office on, how you manage that. I just feel like it's tricky when you're in-house, but it's kind of on steroids when you're freelance, especially if you're a solo freelancer. And I know so many people that solo freelance that feel this pain too, because you're so, on the one hand, excited to be taking these opportunities, pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, meeting new people. Like, it was great to go up to Wiltshire. It's somewhere new that I've not been before. I'm meeting new people. I want to be creating content. That's what I love to do. But at the same time, you're dragged away from the day-to-day. It's quite daunting and can be quite overwhelming. And I would definitely felt that overwhelm kind of take over on Monday specifically. There are a few things you can do to mitigate this. Now, I'm saying this with a disclaimer that I am no expert, and also I get overwhelmed. I really do get overwhelmed. So I don't want to be sat here like, I'm perfect and I know all the answers, because that is so not the case. Trust me, if you'd seen me on Monday, I was having a little breakdown, I was stressed, and I felt like the world was on my shoulders. But I do have a few tips to try and handle this kind of, I guess, juggling act if you are freelance, or if you're in-house with quite a demanding role that means that you feel really torn when you have to be out of the office or doing something out of the norm of your normal day-to-day role. Tip number one is so boring, but it's just about communication, especially in freelancing. I do feel like communication is key, and sometimes as freelancers, especially solo freelancers, we can feel like it's too much on our shoulders and everyone's going to hate us if we communicate a boundary, or we share that we are going to be like maybe out of the office for a day or two, and people are going to get their backs up and think like, oh wait, why can't I have access to this person 24/7? No one's going to think that. Do you hear how ridiculous that sounds when it comes out of my mouth? It is ridiculous, but that is the scenario that I think a lot of us play in our heads, is that if we say no to someone or we give them some like bad news, they are going to fly off the handle. And that's just simply not the case. Most people, I would say 95% of people, are just going to be like, okay, great, like hope the shoot goes well, or like, great, we'll move the meeting to Thursday, like it's fine. And yeah, I just think communication is key. What you might get stuck with is if you don't communicate it and then you start getting people coming into your inbox as they normally would, because they think you're just having a very normal week, they think you are available, they're sending you a WhatsApp, an email, a Slack, a Teams message, whatever it is, people are phoning you, they don't know because you haven't communicated that you're not really going to be around for a couple of days, then what happens is you feel extreme resentment to them, and you start to think like, oh my god, why won't they leave me alone? I can't get a moment's peace. I can't even go and do this one thing for one day. But also you do risk upsetting them in the fact that they haven't really been told, and they did think that you might be around. So I think wherever best, it's good to just say to clients, especially the ones you think will bother you, and I say bother in like quotation marks because they're not bothering you, they're just doing their job, that you're doing your job. But if you do have a client that you think, yeah, they do tend to get in touch like a couple of times a week, or if you've got a colleague, if you're in-house that, you know, you do know that they might need you, I would just send them a little note and just say like, hey, I am actually doing this training day, or I'm out on a shoot with another client and I will not be at my desk, but I will be checking my emails at this time, if you will. If you're not checking your emails, if for example you've got a flight to catch and you're not going to be available, then you can just tell them, I'm going to be offline on Monday, but I will pick up anything urgent on my return on Tuesday. I just think that looks good in the fact that you are a good communicator. Anyone who's hiring a freelancer does not expect you to be at their beck and call 24/7. No one should be at anyone's beck and call 24/7, whether you're in-house or not. But especially as a freelancer, I think we have to remember that if a client is hiring us as a freelancer, they've decided not to hire that role in-house for a reason. And when you hire a freelancer, yes, it's great if you can always be there and trying to answer people as quickly as possible and being really reactive, like that's great. But sometimes life just doesn't allow for that, and you do have to remember that they do know they've hired a freelancer. Like, don't get it twisted in your head that they think, oh, this is another one of my in-house employees. They do know that you are a freelancer, and likelihood is you're not their only client. So I think people kind of have that level of understanding, but it's really hard to remember that, especially if you are programmed to be a little bit of a people pleaser, which I am 100%. Still working on that within myself, and it's you know, easier said than done. But I would say communication is key. Preparation is key too. So if you do know that you've got a 2-day shoot in the diary, so for example, I did know that I had a 2-day shoot in the diary at the beginning of the month, then you can just plan ahead a little bit. Try and foresee any tasks that you may need to do in that week and just do them before. So for my job, that would mean knowing that every Tuesday, client A has a newsletter that goes out. So perhaps I could write the newsletter for that Tuesday in the first week of the month when I write the newsletter for that week too, so I can like bulk those tasks together. That's also a really good tip if you're going on holiday. So just like task bulking, so where you would just do it once, do it twice, and then have it ready for that week that you're going to be off, or those few days that you're going to be away from your desk. Try not to plan any meetings in. Obviously that's quite a given one. If you've got a recurring meeting, just make sure that you're moving it so you're not trying to juggle 2 things at once, trying to stress about having that call at 10 a.m. when you actually are meant to be on a shoot. That's like the worst thing ever. If you can schedule things ahead, like if you're a social media manager specifically, you know, scheduling ahead is our like saving grace that we can do that. So I think just getting as prepared as possible is going to help you feel like it's really smooth sailing. Also, another good tip is if you're traveling, to make sure you're downloading any documents that you might need offline. So even if you are away, you can still use the travel time. Obviously, if you're not driving, so I couldn't have done this, but if you're like on a train or on a plane, you can download documents that you might need, and you can do a bit of work on your travel so that you feel a bit more less stressed when you arrive at the destination and you're actually doing the task that you're meant to be doing. I think sadly, like tip number 3 is that you kind of have to work around it a little bit. Like if you really want to have a seamless week where no one knows that you've actually had a day off, or no one knows that you've had the time out to do something out of the ordinary, then I think you probably do need to do a little bit of work at the weekend before, or maybe you say to yourself, okay, look, we are going to be away from the desk, but we are going to catch up on that time in the evenings by doing a couple of hours work. Now that is not me saying burn yourselves out and like work around the clock, but like also it's just realistic, especially if you're freelance, that you're just going to have to do the tasks at some point, right? And that's how I kind of handled it in the last 2 days. I just made sure that I hopped on for an hour after I finished the shoot and checked my emails, and luckily there wasn't really much in the inbox that needed my direct attention. There was certainly stuff that did need my attention, but not my immediate attention, that couldn't wait a day or two. So I think just, yeah, checking in when you can, or maybe getting up an hour earlier, just so that you're not then trying to do two things at once. Because I do think there's nothing worse than trying to be in two places at once. Like, well, for one, that's impossible, but also for two, in our brains, we can definitely be guilty of like not being present in either place, and you're not really giving either job your 100. It would be better to just focus on the one thing at hand, especially if you're doing a content shoot. I mean, I couldn't have been shooting content and like doing work. It's just like physically impossible. But you know, I could grab a half an hour lunch break and reply to an email or send a quick voice note to a client to answer their question and say, you know, we can go into this in more detail when I'm back, but here's like a quick answer. I think it's just a juggle that we can all face no matter what job you are in. There is going to be pressure on your time, and I think just setting some clear boundaries, communicating really clearly, and also just being as prepared as you possibly can ahead of time for these things is the best way to go. But I would say my final point is that we all have to remember that we are not robots. I am not a working robot that's just built for efficiency, can just work 12-hour days and there's no implication on that. So if you are putting in the extra hours, you need to have some balance on the other side. So if you are working the weekend before you have this content shoot that's taking time away from your everyday, then you need to make sure that once that difficult, busy period has ended, you need to give yourself time off, because otherwise the balance is just off and you're just like a working robot, like I said. But you also need to remember that a lot of your clients will understand that you are just a human being, and most of the time, unless it's life or death, which let's be honest, ask yourself, is your job life or death? I think a lot of us can say no. I think a lot of people maybe watching this video will probably have a job where it's not life or death. You can push back, and we're allowed to say no sometimes, and I'm saying this as much of a reminder to myself as it is for you guys to hopefully help you if you are navigating solo freelancing, or if you're just navigating like a really busy job in your career and yeah, you're looking for some tips. I really hope some of you have found even one or two of those tips helpful, and it's been nice to bring you guys along for more of the behind the scenes of how I plan for content shoots, and kind of a bit more of a realistic look into actually what it takes to be a freelance content creator. It's not all glamorous, but it also is really fun. Like, I can't lie, it's a great job. I love this job so much. I know it's not for everyone, but there's definitely an unglamorous side to freelancing and also content creation that I think isn't as widely shared or spoken about. So if I can lift the lid on that, I always will be honest over here on this channel. But I think that I'm going to wrap this video up. So thank you guys so much if you've made it this far. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a like, hit subscribe, and also share it with a friend if you've got any friends that are freelancers or working hard in their careers and want some advice, especially if they're looking at being a content creator. Feel free to share this video with them as well. I will catch you guys in my next video. I hope you have a wonderful week. Thanks for watching. Bye guys.